Maybe you find yourself managing a project that requires a significant number of developers, or a project where there are many teams involved, perhaps even in different locations. Not only will projects like this require extra diligence in managing the project work, but you need an effective strategy for ensuring the people working on the project, including all stakeholders, feel engaged. This can be challenging when managing Agile projects with significant project team and stakeholder numbers. Scaling Agile means going from a few Agile teams to multiple or even hundreds of Agile development teams. There are some unique challenges that come up whenever you have significant numbers of people needed to work together in a coordinated fashion. Scaling projects seems to be contradictory to Agile methodologies because the premise of most Agile projects is that teams are small and co-located. However, Agile teams can in fact be scaled. Obviously, one main factor to consider when scaling Agile is the size of the team. But there are other factors to consider. One is the geographic distribution of the team. Maybe teams are in other cities or other countries. This presents implications when it comes to face-to-face meetings and effective daily stand-ups. Another consideration is to ensure that your plan during the release planning is captured electronically so that everyone can see where it is. Organizational distribution is something to consider. It is generally considered even if you didn't have to scale a project, because you don't know which divisions initially would be part of the project team. But scaling just adds a level of complexity if different divisions or stakeholders are then geographically dispersed as well. And when we look at compliance, regulatory requirements must also be very well thought out. You want to ensure that the process is within the regulation, or the end product, which adds value, meets, of course, the correct regulation. The customer's organization and an organization running an Agile project may both be obliged to abide by various governmental and industrial regulations and guidelines. When we look at domain complexity, there are two domains, the developer and the customer. If you're scaling Agile, it can be assumed that the level of complexity of the product would then also be more complex. This would require greater exploration and experimentation to possibly having to create more prototypes and models and possibly simulations. And of course, technical complexity is the final thing that needs to be considered. Generally, one would think that the bigger the project, the more complex it would be. This is often the case, and as such, careful consideration should be given to how the technical landscape looks, like now, and where it needs to be in order to ensure that this project can be scaled. We also want to be very cognizant of cultural diversity, especially if the teams are geographically distributed. Culture is very important when it comes to trust, open communication, and the sharing of documentation. There is also the challenge of a product owner. One thing to consider depending on the size of the scale is that you may want to create a product owner team with the intention of having one product owner setting priorities and mediating between stakeholders and the other product owner for each team to help communicate what is required for each product backlog item. Again, this just might be some consideration based on the sheer size and scope of the project. In summary, though it presents unique challenges, scaling Agile teams is possible. Considerations that you should make when scaling Agile include the team size, the geographic distribution, electronic documentation, the organizational distribution, compliance, domain and technical complexity, cultural diversity, and the product owner role.